Uncharted, the brand new video game adaptation that is now coming out of development hell. It's been in development for years. For years. It's been in development since 2008. A year later after the first game came out. When it was on PS3. And there was no such thing as remasters. And since then, we had 2 remasters. We have 2, 3, 4, and 2 spin-offs with Lost Legacy and Golden Abyss. And right now, PlayStation fans around the globe are like, fuck you to anyone who owns a PS5. Because it's an Easter hunt. It's more of an Easter hunt than an actual Easter hunt. It's impossible to get one. The moment you hear, oh, it's on stock on Amazon, you're like, ooh, quickly. Oh, fuck it. It's out of stock. Oh, it's on, this, retail store. You click, oh, fuck it. It's out of stock. I can't get it. To the point, there's a sense of envy, there's a sense of jealousy, there's a sense of anger for people. And now someone who actually knows me, who listens to my stuff, is like, dude, like, I have a spare one, you can have it if you want. And then I'll be like, wait, you have a spare? You know how expensive those things are? Anyway, we're here to talk about Uncharted, right? We're talking about not my rants about me not getting a PlayStation 5. It's a sense of jealousy, fuck you. Kidding, I'm kidding, right? Now, talking about my history with the series is that I'm a huge fan of Uncharted. Actually, I'm a huge fan of Naughty Dog with Uncharted and Last of Us, which is also getting a TV adaptation coming out late this year, early next year, somewhere around that time. But anyway, and the thing that Naughty Dog is able to do so well is that they let me give a shit of why I'm doing the things I'm doing. So in the point of Uncharted is, it's a shooter. So, I'm playing as Nathan Drake, and there's these enemies who are trying to kill me for not getting to the treasure, right? Well, in the context of the story, they're able to let me give a shit why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And same with Last of Us and all this. They're able to deal with so much great characters, so much, which characters and story. Definitely with Uncharted 4. That's probably the best out of the series. Personally for me, it's just chef's kiss. Anyway, and walking into this movie, all I was asking was a good movie. Give me at least a fun, solid adventure film. Like, I understand there's some controversy with the casting because Nathan Drake is normally in his mid-30s. And Tom Holland is not that. Victor goddamn Sullivan is not Marky Mark. He's like this, a guy in his, at least mid-50s, early 50s at least, in the games. And I was like, hey, this is that adaptation. Look, it's an adaptation, the video games are the video games and the movies are the movies. Let's just give us what? All it's a given if they just gave us a good movie. And I walked into the cinema and I saw the film and I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's solid. I had some fun. I mean, probably as a fan, I have like all these like, well, they're probably not this thing wrong, and this thing wrong, and this person's probably a little bit miscast, and all that. Like, I probably am going to be that guy, but watching the film, I'm like, as a film as its own, I'm like, it's a fun little film. Is it going to win any Academy Awards? Oh, hell no. Now, this movie is directed by Ruben Fleischer, who directed the 2 Zombieland films and directed the first Venom. And the thing about this movie is clearly he is a big fan of fast pace. Just go boom, 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 boom. This, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. But there's no sense of, he's connecting the swing, he's connecting the spine, but there's things in this that feels a little bit too quickly done, like the puzzles. It's a treasure movie. That's a thing. Indiana Jones has them, National Treasure has them, Lara Croft has them, like all these other, the the librarians have them, right? But the thing is, it gets so quickly. It becomes like the thing that's fun about treasure movies is you're kind of figuring it out along with the characters, right? And like I'm going to give you an example here, right? It's a type of scene that we have seen before in these type of movies, where you have, like, it's in Last Crusade. It is in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in the library where they're looking for this X, they're looking for this mark, they're looking at it, and they're walking over it, right? But what they're not like, oh, we're staying over it. It's okay. We're looking through books. We're looking through things. We're checking every nick and cranny. It's like, and like, oh, we're actually staying on it. There's a sense of journey, a sense of mystery. There's a sense of figuring out, having the audience figure it out. It's kind of like a murder mystery in a way. And then they find it, right? That's basically what happens in Last Crusade. With bloody, what happens in this movie is Sully's like, oh, there it is. It takes like 10 seconds for them to go, oh, and it's just like, it isn't like a hooray. It becomes like, oh, really? I mean, yes, you have the action sequences. Yes, you have the moments where you have like, okay, every location will have an action sequence. You know, here's a chase with Nathan Drake is chasing Chloe, which I will talk about Chloe. Like, here's the thing about the acting. Mark Wahlberg does a good job being a different version of Sully. Still Sully, but a different version. And same with Tom Holland being Nathan Drake. I know there's a lot of people who are a little bit on the fence of the whole, like, Spider-Man being Nathan Drake? What's going on here? I mean, Peter who? Like, people say Peter Parker to me right now. I don't know who that is. But anyway, this movie is so quickly paced. It's like, there's so much in here that could work, but it just needs some breathing room or some pace or working out how to have these moments happen, but in a very longer and more like interactive way. Funny enough saying interactive, knowing this movie is based on a video game, but interactive way for the audience to have that sense of enjoyment. I mean, having the action sequences from like Uncharted 3, you know, literally the plane sequence that you see in the trailer, it's on like on the posters, all that kind of stuff, is straight from like to the T from Uncharted 3, and it's a neat sequence. It is kind of cool to see that action sequence playing in live action, and of course you got the ships and the pirates and all that. You hear the theme a couple of times. You get all that, but you're like, come on, just have some breathing. Let's have that. Now, a couple more issues with the movie is that the villains are weak. I mean, if you want me to explain the plot, it's Uncharted 3 mixed with a little bit of a lot from Uncharted 4, and here's with the villains of Uncharted 1. I mean, technically to a T, how things fall out. Spoiler alert a little bit, if you know how Uncharted 1 ends. But it just, the villains are very flat. They're not that interesting. It's the whole, I have a legacy, I need to feel that legacy. And I get it, you maybe realize you don't have that flesh out of a villain, so you get someone like Antonio Banderas to hopefully make this 2D flat level villain and elevate this character, but it still comes across very flat and very wooden. Now, let's talk about Chloe. Now, Chloe is maybe my favorite character in the entire franchise of Uncharted. And when I saw the trailers, I was like, okay, oh my god, okay, Chloe is in this movie. Cool. This is the person they got, cool. Was it Sophie, probably butchering her last name, was it Ellie? Once again, probably butchering her last name. And I saw the movie, as I am talking about it, and I'm like, she's probably the one that is miscast. Mainly because she's dipping out accents very a lot. Like, one moment Chloe's American, and then she's British, and then she's Australian. Which anytime she's Australian, I was like, boom! Not because I'm Australian and the character, and that's not the reason I'm a fan of the video game counterpart. But because of the switch of her gears, it just becomes very jarring, and to the point you're like, outside of like her doing very Chloe type things, the character just becomes a bit of like, what part of the world are you from? Are you from Australia? Are you from America? Are you from England? Like, what situation? Now, I don't need her to be Aussie because it's adaptation. Let's give me a good movie. But this character just becomes very, like, a very janky type character, in not motivations, but just as part of the world, and accents kind of flip you a lot. You'll be like, okay, this is not that good. But here's the thing, end of the day, this movie is a fun, decent little film that is probably going to be like, hey, this is a movie that if you go see in theaters, you are going to have a good time. And then whenever it hits streaming or you rent it, you'll be happy to do that. It's that type of movie where you're like, hey, it's enjoyable. Is it the X-Men? Is it the Iron Man of the video game adaptations? No, probably you think about it, Kane's probably that. But we're still waiting for that moment. Then maybe Halo will be the next one, and realize that, hey, maybe video games, because they're so long as it's storytelling, that maybe it works better in a long form storytelling format as television. Maybe it does. We'll see that with Halo and Last of Us. Sony has announced Ghost of Tsushima as a movie, and we'll see how that goes. But if this movie gets a sequel, I mean, it doesn't need much. It costs $120 million to make. Only needs to make about $360 million to break even. And if they do make a sequel, which I feel like they will, at least one other film, you never know. Greatness becomes from small beginnings.